Hello, everyone, and a very warm welcome back to Enlightlearn. I'm Joy, and it's a real pleasure to have you with us again. I hope you're all doing well and that you're ready to learn something new today.
And I'm Bobby. Hey, Joy. It's great to be back with you, and I'm so happy to connect with all of our lovely listeners today. You know, I've got my coffee, and I'm feeling good, ready to get started. How was your week?
Oh, it was a good week. A little bit busy, but in a good way. I spent a lot of time just thinking about our listeners and the different ways people learn. I was walking my dog in the park yesterday, and I saw a little boy, maybe about 5 years old, and he was just pointing at everything. What's that? Why is it like that? What's that bird called? It was so funny and so simple, and it got me thinking about how we all start out with this natural hunger to know things. We ask questions about everything. How about you? Any big thoughts or story from your week?
That's such a lovely image, a kid asking why about everything. We should all be a little more like that, shouldn't we? My week was good too. I was actually trying to fix something in my kitchen, a broken faucet. I had no idea what I was doing, but instead of calling a professional right away, I just decided to look it up on the internet. I found a video, and the person in the video was explaining things, and I just kept asking my screen, what does that part do? Why do I need that tool? Even though I was just talking to my laptop, it felt like I was learning by asking questions. And you know what? I fixed it. It was the best feeling. It just reminded me that asking questions, even if you're just asking yourself, is a powerful way to learn.
That's a perfect story for our topic today, actually. It's a great little intro to what we're going to talk about. Today, we want to talk about something that we all have inside of us, something that we often forget to use in our English learning journey. We're going to talk about curiosity.
That's right. Listeners, I want you to forget everything you thought you knew about learning English. The most effective tool isn't a long list of grammar rules or 1,000 new words to memorize. It's something much more simple, and it's something you already have. We're going to dive deep into the surprising power of curiosity and how embracing it can change you from someone who is a little bit shy about speaking into a confident and strong English speaker. We're going to show you how to unlock your true potential.
You know, I think a lot of us who have tried to learn a new language have gone down the same road. We get a big, heavy textbook. We start at chapter 1. We learn the grammar rules. We study a list of vocabulary words, maybe 20 new words every day. And for a while, it works. We feel like we're making progress. But after a few weeks or months, it starts to feel like a chore. It's not fun anymore. We start to get tired of just memorizing things. We feel like we're just collecting information, but we're not actually using it. And because we're not truly understanding it, the information doesn't stick in our minds. Does that sound familiar to you, Bobby?
Oh, absolutely. I feel like I've tried to learn so many things that way. It's like trying to build a house by just collecting a pile of bricks. You have all the pieces, but you don't know how to put them together. The traditional way of learning, the way we were taught in school, is often very passive. We sit, we listen, we write things down, but we're not really involved in the process. It's like being a passenger in a car. You're moving, but you're not the one driving. And that's where curiosity comes in. It's the engine. It's the thing that makes you the driver.
That's such a good way to put it. Curiosity is the thing that makes learning personal. When you're curious, you're not just taking in information, you're actively searching for it. You're asking questions because you really want to know the answer. And when you find the answer, you're more likely to remember it because you were the one who went looking for it in the first place. It's a completely different experience. It's active, not passive.
Think about it this way. If I give you a list of 10 new words to memorize, you might remember them for a day or two. But if you're watching a movie and you hear a phrase that you don't understand and you're so curious about what it means that you look it up, you will remember that phrase forever. Why? Because it's connected to something you were already interested in, the movie. It's a powerful feeling when you connect something new to something you already know.
It's like finding a treasure. You found it yourself and you're so proud of it that you want to show it to everyone. Curiosity is like that. It makes learning an adventure, not a boring task. We're going to show you how to start using this hidden superpower to change your English learning journey from today.
So, how do we actually do this? How do we use our curiosity to learn English? It's simple, but it requires a change in how we think. We need to shift from being a passive consumer of information to an active investigator. It's about asking questions all the time. Not just about the big things, but about the small things too.
Exactly. It can be as simple as watching a video and hearing a word you don't know, and just asking yourself, why is that word used there? Or you're reading a book and you see a phrase that looks a little bit strange. Don't just skip it. Stop and think, what does that phrase really mean? And then you can look it up. It takes a little bit of effort, but it's a huge step.
It really is. I remember the first time I did this. I was reading a news article and I saw a headline that said something like, "The company's new plan is a paradigm shift." I had no idea what that meant. I could have just ignored it, but I was curious. So I looked it up. I learned that a paradigm shift is a big change in the way something is done or thought about. It was a word I had never seen before, but because I was curious and I looked it up, I've never forgotten it since. It's a simple thing, but it's an important habit.
It's all about paying attention to the details. Like when you hear two people talking and they use a phrase you don't know, don't just let it go. You can even ask them. You can say, "That's an interesting way to say it. What do you mean by that?" Most people will be happy to explain. It shows them that you're interested in what they're saying, and it helps you learn. This is where learning moves from a textbook to real life.
Let's do a little role play here to show you how simple it is. Imagine we're walking down the street and we see an old building with a sign on it. The sign says, "This building is under renovation." And you don't know what renovation means.
Okay, so I would stop and I would say, "Bobby, what does renovation mean?"
Well, I might say, it means they're fixing up the building and making it new again.
And then, because I'm a curious person, I might ask, "Oh, so what kind of things do they do when they renovate a building? Do they just paint it or do they change the inside too?"
And you can see how one simple question leads to another. I might say, "Oh, they can do a lot of things. They might change the walls or the windows or the floor. It's a big project." You're not just learning one word, you're learning about a whole process. And you're connecting it to something real, that building right in front of you. That's what we mean by being an active investigator.
This idea of curiosity really comes to life when you step away from the textbook and into the real world. We all watch movies, listen to music, or read news online. We can use our natural curiosity to turn these things into powerful learning tools. For example, I love watching documentaries about animals. Before, I would just watch and enjoy the story, but now I listen for new words. I remember watching a documentary about bees, and the narrator kept saying the bees were buzzing. I knew what a buzz was, but I had never thought about it as something a bee does. So I looked it up, and I learned that it's the sound of a bee's wings. It was a small thing, but it made me feel like I understood the video on a deeper level.
That's a great example. It's all about making those connections. And you can do this with anything. If you love music, listen to the lyrics of a song you like. If there's a phrase you don't know, look it up. A lot of times, music uses what we call idioms or slang, which are words or phrases that don't mean exactly what they sound like. And when you learn these, you start to understand not just the language, but the culture behind it.
That's so true. I was listening to an interview with a famous actor, and he said that he was all ears when his friend was talking. I had never heard that phrase before. I was so curious about what it meant. I looked it up and learned that it means you are ready to listen carefully. It's a simple phrase, but it's a very common one. And now every time I hear it, I remember that moment, and I feel like I have a little piece of the culture with me.
And this is where it gets really interesting. You can use your curiosity to understand different accents and different ways of speaking. I was listening to a podcast from a guy in Ireland, and he kept saying the word grand. I knew what grand meant, but the way he was using it didn't make sense. So I looked it up, and I learned that in Ireland, grand can just mean okay or fine. It was a tiny difference, but it was a great lesson. Now, when I talk to people from Ireland, I understand them a little bit better. It's all because I was curious enough to ask, why is he saying that?
This is what makes language learning so much fun. It's not just about learning words, it's about learning about people, places, and ideas. You can use your curiosity to become a better investigator of the world around you. And the more you investigate, the more you learn, and the more confident you become.
The best part about using curiosity as a learning tool is that it creates what we call a domino effect. You know, like when you set up a long line of dominoes and you push the first one and all the others fall down one after another? That's exactly how learning with curiosity works. One question leads to an answer, and that answer leads to another question, and soon you've learned so much more than you expected.
I love that idea. It's like a chain reaction of learning. Let me tell you about a time this happened to me. I was reading an article about a famous city in England, and I saw the word piazza. I didn't know what it meant, so I looked it up. I learned that it's a public square, and the word comes from Italy. So my first curious question was answered. But that made me wonder, why is an Italian word used in an English article about England?
And what did you find?
Well, I did a little bit more research, and I learned that the word was used because the public square in the city was designed by an Italian architect a long time ago. So my second question was answered, but that led to a third question. Who was this architect, and what else did he design?
See, this is the domino effect in action. You started with one simple word, and it led you to learn about history, architecture, and the connection between cultures. You didn't just learn the meaning of piazza, you learned a whole story behind it. And that story is something you will never forget. It's so much more powerful than just memorizing a word from a list.
It really is. It's a deeper kind of learning. And it feels so good. There's a real joy in this kind of discovery. You feel like a detective and you're finding clues and putting them all together. It's a satisfying feeling and it makes you want to keep going. It's not about being forced to learn. It's about wanting to learn.
This process builds a richer, more intuitive grasp of the language. You start to see how words are connected to each other and to the world. You're not just learning a language, you're learning about the people who speak it and the history of the words they use. It's an adventure, and it's much more fun and effective than just sitting and trying to memorize everything.
So you might be thinking, this sounds great, but where do I start? We've put together a simple action plan for you. It's 3 small steps you can take starting today to make curiosity a part of your English learning routine.
Our first challenge for you is this. Choose one curiosity mission for this week. It can be anything. Maybe you want to learn what the word grand means when people from Ireland use it. Maybe you want to learn the meaning of a strange word you saw in a news headline. Or maybe you want to find out why a certain phrase is used in your favorite song. Just choose one thing, and when you're curious about it, go and find the answer.
Our second challenge is to ask questions, even if you're just asking yourself. When you're listening to a podcast or watching a show, don't just sit there quietly. Ask yourself, what does that mean? Why did they say it that way? Is this a common word? Just having those questions in your mind will make your brain work in a new way. It will make you an active learner, not a passive one.
And our third challenge is to connect the new word or phrase to something you already know. When you learn a new word, don't just write it down in a list. Think about how it connects to your life. For example, if you learned the word renovation, think about a building in your city that is being fixed up. When you connect the new word to a real-life thing or an experience you've had, you will remember it much better.
So to sum up, learning English is not just about memorizing words and rules. It's about embracing your natural curiosity. I know it can be scary to speak up and make a mistake, but remember that even I, as a native speaker, sometimes say the wrong thing. Mistakes are just part of the journey. Be brave, like that little boy I told you about. Keep asking questions, and you will learn so much and become more fluent.
We hope this episode helps you see language learning in a new and exciting way. Thank you for listening. We'd love to hear about your own curiosity missions. Share your newfound discoveries with us on our social media channels. And remember to subscribe to Enlightlearn so you never miss an episode.
We'll see you next time on Enlightlearn.